Well, welcome everybody to Wine and Wisdom with Whitney on Wednesday. This is our last one of 2020, and I'm so excited that we have Gina the Gemologist with us today. I'm going to read you Gina's amazing intro, but if you haven't had the chance to meet with her, you should, whether virtually or in the future in person, because she has such tremendous energy. I think I actually felt worn out after meeting with you for the first time, Gina, when we met at a Starbucks, and I'm an introvert and she's an extreme extrovert, and just like the energy coming from Gina is just palpable. It's incredible. So if you ever need an energy boost, she's the woman to go see. So throughout her 20-year career, her jewelry career, Gina the Gemologist has learned a lot about life and jewelry. Gina will be sharing powerful stories that have helped her see her own life through a different view. The emotions of jewelry are powerful, and there is a shadow side too. Gina the Gemologist is a jewelry whisperer, stylist, and appraiser. She started a niche jewelry service that puts clients first through tailored experiences, helping them navigate the emotional aspects of shopping for jewelry and ensuring that they get the most for what they're looking to spend. Gina believes jewelry honors the wearer and provides strength, especially during these challenging times. So it's my pleasure and my honor to introduce Gina the Gemologist. Welcome, Gina.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here. I know so many of you, and it's fun to see some new faces and meet new people. And that's definitely a part of the extrovert part I can, get still from Zoom, which is so exciting. And I'm so excited to share with you the shameful stories and secrets of jewelry. I really feel that I have had such a beautiful career of helping people and hearing these stories. And I just want to share that my talk today is using real stories, and I've changed names and things like that. And the gender of my stories is based on what people identify with. And I'm a huge supporter of the LGBTQ plus community. And these emotions will resonate with everyone, but I do apologize that the stories are based on the gender that the people identify with. And the main goal and the intentions for my talk today is to just share the things that I've learned through jewelry and hope that something resonates with you and maybe empowers you. And I just feel that I find a lot of people have like stories that they tell themselves about jewelry, like I shouldn't want something this expensive, it's just my goal is to help people just speak our truth, say what we want, and honor ourselves in the form of jewelry, because I really do see jewelry as self-care. So the first shameful story and secret is my own. In 2009, I was working at Benbridge Jewelers. I was 32, I was single, and I was working towards becoming a graduate gemologist. I loved jewelry, I loved helping people, and I really loved working at the mall because I got an opportunity to help a lot of people during that time. I was working with 3 older women. I would say they were in their 50s, and they were getting a repair, and they started looking me up and down. And as I'm filling out the repair form, I could kind of feel it. And one of them looked up and said, "Is that all your jewelry that you're wearing? Or does the company just let you wear it?" And she said it just like that. And so I stopped what I was writing and I said, "Oh, well, just so you know, in the jewelry world, we're not allowed to wear the jewelry. We actually buy everything that we own." And she said, "So who bought that for you? Are you married?" And I said, "No, I bought it for myself. I really love jewelry and I love honoring like milestones in my life to wear jewelry." And I said it very like cheerleader-like and happy. And she goes, "Well, just so you know, you're not going to find a husband wearing all that jewelry. You're going to scare him away. Men don't like jewelry." And I just kind of stopped and I just said, "Well, actually, I love every piece that I'm wearing, and it just kind of sets the bar." And she looks up and down at me and she goes, "That's not how it works, honey." And I remember like in 2009, like that Gina, she was so sweet, and she really just very much needed validation from everyone. And that's one thing that kind of led me to my journey, is I just followed like the validation, but also in the giving spirit. But what was funny is I walked away from that conversation going, "Well, I guess I'm never going to get married." And it's so funny because it was literally like 9 months later that I met my partner, and I was just like, "Oh, just so you know, I buy a lot of jewelry." And he was like, "Cool." So it was just kind of funny because I just found that like with children and animals and jewelry, people just say whatever comes to mind. And the one thing that I really like to help educate people is, what is the story that you're telling yourself? And is it one that serves you? Because if it serves someone else, it's not really that helpful. Which leads me to my next story. Last year, I was networking with a group of men and women, and we were all around a table. And one of the women found out what I do, and she pulled me aside and she goes, "Can I ask you a question?" And she holds up her hand, and she had an engagement ring on. She goes, "Do you think this diamond is too small?" And I was like, "Well, what do you think about it?" And she goes, "Well, I think it's too small, but I don't want to say anything because I feel like really rude." And when I talked to my fiance, he said the salesperson told him that it was the rarest diamond that he could afford and that he should just get it for me. And one of my friends said that it's too small to be an engagement ring. And so we had a conversation, and it's like the networking like tuned out, and her and I just had this conversation about what that diamond meant to her. And so instead of feeling shame when she said she's engaged, she found a way to talk with her partner, and they're designing a wedding band that she really wants to go with it that'll be perfect. And so the thing is that when we're not aligned with our jewelry, like even with like my tiara, if we're not aligned with it, I feel like people see that and they comment on it. And it's not that they're commenting on things because they think it bad. It's because they want to know, what does it mean to you, right? So it's like a curiosity. Because the thing for me is, having a friend say that your engagement ring is too small and that he should take it back and get a bigger one. It's just not kind language. And it's just something that I really want to change how we talk about jewelry, because we've put all this emphasis on couples treating each other to jewelry and treating each other to these really wonderful milestones. But then there's all this interaction coming from the outside world saying what that should be. Like, you should spend 3 months net pay, even though some people don't want to wear that much jewelry on their, on their finger. And I've just always seen jewelry in a different way, and, giving people permission to speak their truth, which goes to my next story. It was a gentleman I was helping for an engagement ring, and he was so stressed out. He was just like, I could feel it as an empath and as an extrovert. I'm just like, "What's going on? Aren't you so excited?" Like, to me, it's like you found the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. Like, that is such a big deal. That is like the hardest thing, right? And then it's the one thing we all like can say, like, it's so fun to have your tribe. So you've got this, which is so exciting. And then now you have this pressure of picking out this ring that someone's going to wear for the next 80 years. And so as we were looking at his diamond options, a lot of times salespeople will come across and say, "Well, this is what you should get because this is what I would buy." Where my language is, what's your personality, or what's his personality? What is it that they're going to wear every day? Tell me more about your relationship. And then that kind of helps us get an idea of the jewelry. So he's looking at the 3 diamonds and he says, "Which one would you buy?" And so again, I said, "Well, does she, do you think she's going to wear it all the time?" "Yes, she's a nurse." So then that helps us kind of navigate what size would be good for her, if she's going to wear it with gloves, things like that. So right before he had picked the diamond, he loved it, he was really happy. And right before he was ready to pay for it, he goes, "What if she says no?" And I got to see this really raw, vulnerable side to men that I've never seen. I did not grow up in a household where men showed any kind of emotion unless they wanted some sexy time. And that was really confusing too. And so the thing is that in that moment, he was so stressed out that maybe, like, what if she says no? And so I said, "Just so you know, where we're coming from as the person receiving it is, we're so excited you want to be with us forever. And we get this cool ring that we get to show our mom and friends. And it's a really exciting deal for us." And the blood went back into his face, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't even think about my mom seeing this. What's another $1,000 get us?" And what was so funny about it is I was literally just being like, this is how I think about the world. I think about the emotion. I think about the energy. And then he was able to see $1,000 more. And then he was like, "Well, I don't think I see $1,000 difference. Okay, I'm going to go with this one." But the cool part about it is that he's not wondering, did I get the right thing? He knows for certainty. And the really great thing is she did say yes. But it's the first time I really got an insight into what it is and how meaningful jewelry is. And it's not just a transaction. It's not like when we go to the store and we're buying, paper towels or whatever it is that we're getting. It's like there's a meaning behind every piece of jewelry. And that is the world and the realm that I live in. And so that's what I get really excited about with learning these things. And then he has this great story about how he looked at 15 different diamonds and he even went over budget, but he found the perfect one. And like, you know, it's like a lot of times I find it's like one of the people doesn't necessarily love the shopping, but they love the outcome. And that's what makes the shopping really exciting. And so that's what I get really excited about, is being able to be on these really intimate sides of people and their jewelry. Another exciting story I want to share with you, and some of you might have heard this, is that this is kind of like one of those things that, you know, after spending so much time in jewelry, I've gotten a lot of great stories that help other people. So this one helps us remind, like when we're preparing for when loved ones pass on, just to remember to take off their jewelry before they go through and get cremated. So I had a client come in and they had a ring that was really dirty, and they said, we need you to clean it. So they take the ring out of the baggie, and it looked like it was in sand or something. It didn't even recognize it. And they stick it on my hand. And I was like, oh, it's really dusty. And they were like, oh yeah, we just pulled it out of the ashes of our grandmother who was cremated, and it's covered in their blood, and we wanted to know if you could clean it. And like, I literally was like, I'm a germaphobe, if y'all don't know. I literally was like, I have a dead human being on my hand. And then I went, ding, customer service cheerleader, like, oh, so is it okay if I clean that off for you? I'll be right back. And then I was literally like, and then I was able to get it clean. But I was like, how cool is it that, hey, the human body burns at a hotter temperature, like burns faster than a ring, so the ring wasn't damaged. And B, I was able to get blood off of a ring. So you can see, like, there's all these little quirky personalities in my mind, but I'm able to always focus on clients. And it just always made me think, like, I actually tell people that, like, hey, just so you know, unless they want to be buried with their jewelry, it's good to know and take the rings off and have that, especially like if they're going to assisted living or if they're downsizing, things like that. It's really important to have documentation, because this year I've had about 7 clients call me asking, like, what can we do? These rings have disappeared. Where do you think they've gone? And it's like, just having an inventory of that if anyone's moving into a home or downsizing is really important, because usually, like, I'm an extreme optimist as well. So I always think they were misplaced, but having those feelings of someone taking a ring is never good. But it just always makes me think, like, I've had this really amazing time to learn from clients and their experiences. And that ring ended up actually being a redesign, because they didn't like the idea of having a ring, but they really wanted it to be meaningful and they didn't want to sell it. So they actually put it on a pendant and made it. And that's kind of the fun thing about doing like recently jewelry box revivals, is that you get to honor yourself and the memory of your loved ones, but you don't have to settle for jewelry that rips your hair out or that you don't love. And I just find that a lot of people say, well, I don't want to buy jewelry if it's just going to sit in a jewelry box. And the thing to keep in mind with that is that if there's one thing you don't love about your jewelry, it usually makes you not wear it. Like if it gives you a headache when you put the earrings in, or it makes your, those are things to kind of think of. And that's kind of the realm that, like I said, that I live in, is I think about like long-term wear, one piece for the rest of your life. Like that would be ideal. I mean, I shop for jewelry a lot and I do really enjoy it, but the reason I share these stories with you is just because we all have a story, and we all have things that, that we've heard from other people of what we should buy or what we should do. And my goal and my mission with, building a niche service that really specializes in making sure everything aligns, is that there isn't things that are sitting in jewelry boxes that aren't being worn or honored by the people. And so, it's one of those things that it's like, we're kind of moving into a minimalistic, world where we're thinking, what do we really want? What do we really, it's like just having pieces that honor us and tell us the story that we want to hear, instead of being like, oh, I should have a big ring, or I should, spend money on this, or I should do that, so that is my story. And I, of course, want to answer any questions you guys might have, or if you guys have any jewelry questions, I'd love to be of service. I know I talk really fast, but it's only because I get so excited to see so many of you at once.
Does anyone have questions for Gina?
I do, Gina. I was wondering your thoughts on this. You kind of touched on it, but I think I've been given really nice, beautiful jewelry in the past, and I always lose it. So I'm so afraid to ever invest. Like if I'm afraid to invest in really expensive jewelry because I would feel so guilty losing it. And I just feel like you might have a really curious thought on that about fear around losing jewelry.
Yes, I would say it's probably the number 5 thing that people ask me about and they're so concerned about. And so, like with losing jewelry or people that have lost jewelry, the secret and key is you never take your jewelry off except for the one place you store it. So, like if you decide you want to store it in your closet and you have a little jewelry container, you don't take your ring or your earrings or your necklace off when you're sitting watching TV. It has to be a like all or nothing. And then you always know where it's at, because the misplacing or the losing is easy to do. Or even if you have like a little zippy pouch, like I carry these all around, I hand these out to strangers. Like I'm like, oh, you need a zippy pouch. You just put it in there, and then you put it in your, because then that way the dust doesn't get on it. And then you put it in there, and then you always stick it in the same spot, and you always have it. So even if you wanted that to be your purse, and you just, if you're going to stick this in your purse, just make sure it's in like a zipper, so that way you don't lose it. But yeah, I've never lost a piece of jewelry, knock on wood, but that's because I only put my jewelry in one specific spot. So I never just take it off and leave it where I'm at, because I've had clients that had their cats that, put it down the sink. I've heard the garbage disposal. I've seen a garbage disposal ring. Those are really horrible, and they aren't repairable typically because, metal has memory, things like that. So that's what I would say. And then I would start with one piece that you really love, and then give yourself a goal of like, okay, for the next 6 months, this is how I'm going to take care of it, and this is how I'm going to wear it, and, put it on after you're done getting ready, and then take it off as soon as you get home or you're done with your day, and kind of make it like, set an intention for it. Like, oh, this is like my necklace that I'm going to wear Monday through Friday, 10 to 5, or this is my evening necklace, and then just see how that goes. But yeah, I wouldn't take it off until you can put it somewhere that and just every single time without fail.
The little bag is so smart. The way I lost jewelry before is I used to work at a school. So like I'd be doing the dishes in a random classroom, or like the children would want to hold it. I can't say no to them. And then all of a sudden all my jewelry is gone. But if I had a little baggie that I put in my apron, that would have been a different story.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't have any questions, but I have worked with Gina, and she's really easy to work with and fun.
Well, that's because you're so fun.
She did this for me, which is a gift I gave myself, and she designed it and helped me, pick out what works, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you.
Gina, why don't you talk about what a jewelry box revival is? Because I know about it because you posted it a lot to our group and all, but
yeah,
for those that maybe aren't a part of our group, to know what you do, because I think it's fantastic. It's so cool.
Thank you, Larry. You guys are so sweet. So with the jewelry box revival, it's where I go to people's homes, and like right now we're able to do it social distancing. I actually got a down jacket so I can like be outside, and it's totally fine. And so what I do is I go through everyone's jewelry and we talk about it. And I recently had a client who was like, I love all the jewelry that my mother gave me, but none of it fits my hands. I'm very self-conscious about it. And so we talk about, okay, so if they don't fit your hands, let's see what that would look like in a pendant, earrings. And so we kind of talk about all the possibilities. We talk about all the price ranges in a safe space, because I don't have any skin in the game except for that I want it to be the ideal outcome for the client. Because a lot of times when you go into jewelry stores, and this is the main reason that I invented this package and this service, is because you go into a jewelry store and their goal is to sell you things, right? And so, and it's just the way the world works. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you go in there with something that means so much to you, and you hear things like, why would you want to repair this? This isn't worth it. Like, those aren't positive things. And I've had clients just start crying because they're like, I know this isn't worth it. And I'm like, so what does the $500 mean to you? And they're like, because it was like a $500 repair. And she goes, well, it means that I get to wear my mother's ring, who's no longer here, and I get to honor her, and I get to enjoy it. And I'm like, so is that worth it? you know? And she's like, well, I guess I'm going to wear it for the next 20 years. 500 divided by 20 plus every, and so it's just creating a space of that there's no right or wrong answer, because again, the jewelry business is very much designed on who made it, who designed it, how much it was. And they've done a great job with advertising and teaching people that they need to buy jewelry. But where I come from, it's like, what honors us? Like, what makes us feel good? Like, these earrings here were $45, but they were the first pair of earrings I bought myself with my own paycheck with this business this year. And so they mean a lot to me. And I actually got inspired by these by a pair I saw that were $97,000. So these are my 97.35 here, 56, and so, because even if I had unlimited money, I don't value the jewelry that's at $97,000. Like, I think they're fun to try on and look at, but that's not where. And so matching people up to what they want, so like, it's like $500 sounds like a lot to repair a piece to one person, but to the other person, they're like, oh, is that all it would take? And so just with the jewelry box revival, it's all about the person and what it is they want. Because this same person had this ring. She was like 95% sure she wanted to sell it. And then after I cleaned off all the lotion and all the environment, she's like, oh my God, this is so pretty. Why would I ever sell this? And so just creating a container where there's no wrong answer, and it's okay if they change their mind. Maybe she wants to sell it in 6 months after wearing and enjoy it. Because the thing with jewelry box revivals that I feel that have been helpful for clients is giving them permission to decide what's best for them. Because a lot of times when we go to sell jewelry, we don't get what we paid for it. And we're told they're an investment, and it's really an emotional investment. So if, your mother got 40 years of wearing a ring and you're going to get $2,500 for that, it's either going to be worth it for you or it's not, because it's like, well, she got her money's worth in the jewelry. So anything you get is great, but is that really great for you? And that's kind of the fun part about jewelry box revival, is whether you redesign it, repair it, keep it as is, or sell it, you get to see what each one costs, and then you get to feel which one is best for the person. So that's what's so exciting, because it's all emotion, which is like the realm that I live in, as you guys can see, and happiness.
I'm curious if folks feel comfortable sharing the story behind the jewelry that they're wearing today.
Yeah, I would love to. Oh, I told this story before everyone came on, so a few of you might have heard it, but the earring I'm wearing, many years ago when I was traveling with someone, and we stopped in New York City, and we stayed with the person I was traveling with, we stayed with their friend, and he was like this really interesting dude who like owned this big apartment in Manhattan, and his job was creating like the design and the decorations for like New York City storefronts. And he designed and made these earrings that are actual like real lock picks. And I've never tried, but he says they actually work if you use them. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
All I have on is my wedding ring, but I can totally relate to your story that when I got engaged, and this was only about 4 years ago, I like hardly even saw the ring. I was just so happy to be getting engaged. And it still makes me laugh because where we got engaged was in our neighbor across the street's kitchen while the house was being built. So we still kind of laugh whenever we see that house or go over there, like we got engaged in your kitchen. Like it was just very random.
How beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's so fun.
Question for you, Gina. If a ring is white gold,
Yes.
is that you, like if it's a fairly inexpensive wedding band, is it generally a base metal covered in white gold?
Well, it depends if it's stamped or not. So depending on the price, because they have sterling silver, but inside it would be stamped 925, which means sterling silver. And they do a white gold, which is called rhodium overlay to make it white and shiny. So that way the silver doesn't oxidize. But if it's stamped inside 14K or 585, which is 14 karat, that means that it's 58.3% yellow gold. And then the other 42% is nickel, zinc, and copper. Because there's no such thing as natural white gold. So the zinc, the zinc and the nickel that they mix in there is what makes it white, but it's still kind of a golden yellow. Like if you compare it next to like a platinum, but then that's why they do what they call a rhodium plating, which is a sister metal to platinum, to make it that like nice white shiny that you see.
So it was definitely rhodium plated. How much would the 14 karat ring like band be worth?
What's the millimeter size? Is it like a 2 mil? Is it thin, thick?
About that fat. That's the finger it went on.
Yeah, right. I would just depending on the stamp inside, if it says, and you're welcome to take a picture and send it to me and I can tell you what the stamp is. But then, if you're looking at like a retail value, buying it brand new would be, a few $100s. If it's something you wanted to sell, you get what they call a meltdown value. Then you're looking at less than $100.
That's what I was thinking. For my previous marriage, I wanted to melt it down and turn it into a Dungeons and Dragons dice.
There you go. Yeah. So I could definitely send you. There's a couple places in town that they give you the best milk price, because they actually work with refineries, where if you go to a store, they're going to take off 20% for their fee to send it to the refinery. So I can definitely get you to the right place to melt it down.
Well, I was thinking about reshaping it, like having somebody craft something out of it, as opposed to, because figure you'd lose money on getting rid of it, and it's not going to change the melt value if you transform it into something else, right?
Totally, yeah. So what they would do is they would melt it down and they would take out all the impurities, and then they would make it like natural gold again. So it'd be 24 karat, and then they would add new impurities and like like things to it, and then remake it for you, which is actually more expensive because the burnishing process of eliminating all the old elements are more. But then you get to just recreate it and turn it into a dragon. But I do know someone who makes dragon rings, and they are so on point. I have met the coolest people the last 18 months. One of them has like a tennis bracelet that's all diamonds, but you don't know they're diamonds. You just think that they're scales of the dragon. And then the clasp is the dragon head. It is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's also very expensive because it's handmade. But yeah, that's a great question too. Because like a lot of times people are like, well, what about rose gold? Because rose gold's really in fashion right now. Will it last forever? And for those people, I always say, if you really love it, you'll love it forever. If you're worried about a trend, let's go shopping and try a bunch on. And then, because a lot of times it's very much like, I'm sure, a lot of our clients, they start out with an idea of what they think they're going to end up getting. But then it's like, we understand that like there's a process to go through for that, to make sure that they have the right thing. And I've had several clients be like, well, I'm so worried that rose gold is going to go out of style. And it's like, the last time rose gold was really popular was like in the late 60s. And then before that, it was like in the 1800s. And so it's kind of fun to see rose gold coming back, because it's been around for about 4 years and it's still going really strong. So it's like wanting to become a jewelry historian. For me, it's like, it's so exciting because you're in this block where this is when people got married, and it's just like seeing our parents that have the yellow gold band with the big diamond right on top, because that was really popular in the 80s, and, and then moving into the platinum and the princess cut. And so, yeah, it's just really fun. But yeah, JC, that would be such a good re-energy, because you burn out all the impurities, which is very like emotional and therapeutic, and then you would make it into the ring that you want it to be, which is really exciting. I'm going to send you some pictures of this ring that I'm telling you about. It'd be really fun. And then you support local artists that are really looking for the work, which is exciting.
Gina, what's your favorite piece of jewelry that you have?
Oh, I love them all for different reasons. Like, I'm one of those really rare people that like I literally, like, there isn't a favorite. It's just based on the emotion. So for example, like I wore my 35 karat amethyst ring that my sister-in-law gave me. So she gave me the stone, and then I had the ring built around it, because like this is the size of Mariah Carey's diamond. Like, so that like is my Mariah ring. And so I feel like a princess when I wear this ring. And just to give you a discussion for like the difference between like a queen, it's like, oh my God, it's so much work to be a queen. You have to tell people what to do. Like, we're a princess, you just get to be fun and pretty and happy. So that's what, just the distinction between princess and queen. Because I recently reframed that it's okay, I want to be a princess on some days. But I love this ring because my sister-in-law was so excited. She's like, I bought it for $30 40 years ago, and now it's yours. And, it's just, to me, when I wear it, to see her light up that, it sat in a drawer for 30 years before she gave it to me, and to be able to enjoy it's pretty cool. Plus, it's like, if there's any celebrity who I could do a jewelry box revival for, and I would charge for it, where last year I wouldn't have said that. Now I'm like, no, there's a fee for that, is Mariah Carey. Like between her and Nelly, they have like all my favorite diamond pieces of jewelry. Like those two celebrities, like Nelly and Mariah Carey, like they're on point for their jewelry. But again, I took some time off the last couple of days, and I was like making necklaces and jewelry and bracelets, and I was just laughing because I was like, even when I'm like not working, I'm doing something jewelry related. And it was a really good reframe my partner had when he said, but that's because you have so much love to give, like, and it's like, oh, it's so fun. So yeah.
Gina, can you talk a little bit about the value of the memories of a piece over the value of the piece? Because I think that's another conversation that kind of gets lost.
Definitely. So, well, I mean, look at Devin and her earrings. I mean, she puts like to see like you run and put them on and then come back. It's like the way you lit up when you had them on, and you have this cool story, and someone that, makes things look good for a living took something that was so like that people wouldn't even think of to use, and has this, and even just talking about, you smile, and it's like, that is the cool part, and even Shannon, when you were talking about being in someone's home and proposing and how it meant so much, and what you remember is how you felt. It's just like with perfume, and scents, and when you drive by your old dentist office and you remember like, oh, that was such a pain, like all those things. Like I remember being a little kid and remembering what it felt like to go to the grocery store and how it felt to walk down every aisle. And then recently I had a spiritual guide go through my records, like I can't remember the name, it's like Archivian Records, and they were talking about like one of my core driving forces after helping is I like beautiful things, right? And so that's kind of the fun thing about jewelry. And my first experience cleaning someone's jewelry when I started, I was 21 years old, was I saw how removing the lotion and removing all the like the ear stuff that comes, that comes with jewelry, is then it's good again. It's happy again. And so it's like, you don't have to buy a lot of jewelry. And I remember thinking when I was young, and I remember like a manager being really mad that I said that out loud, but I was like, but people don't have to buy a lot of jewelry. They just have to buy what they love, and I just remember feeling like such an outcast from jewelry, but then also loving that. Like my brain was telling me something was wrong with me just because I was supposed to sell things. But then the other one was like, there's freedom over here when you give yourself permission to do what it is you need to take care of yourself, because even my sister-in-law was like, the reason I never set it into anything is because I could never afford to. And I didn't want to, and I didn't want to have to design something. And so there's so many things mixed in with it, and one of the clients that I recently helped, she said, I really thought you were going to tell me what to buy. I was really hoping you were going to tell me what to buy, but you made me say my truth. And now no one's like, when my friends comment on my ring, I'm going to be able to stand up to my truth. Where if you would have told me, get it, it's in fashion, which I don't use that language. And there's nothing wrong with that language. It just is not how I identify with jewelry. She goes, now I'm comfortable. And what was so interesting is that she had the bank teller say, oh, sweetie, you have to buy your own ring. That's so sad. And she said, it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And to see that empowerment with like owning what it is we're getting is really the realm I live with, because it's like, again, there's a lot of shame in jewelry, and I want to change that. Like, I really want to change it to it's like everybody wins, that's really the key element. So yes, Bill.
So other than this piece, which hopefully you can see, beautiful. This was my mother's opal.
Oh, beautiful.
And I gave it to my cousin, who is like her surrogate daughter and vice versa, surrogate mom. I said, you want this, don't you? I think if anybody should have it, you should. And she was thrilled. I didn't tell my aunts or other cousins. But most of my mom's stuff, being an artist, it's not so much gems, is that it's artistic, it's design. Some things either she chose or she designed herself. I'm going to ask you this question. What would be my starting point? I have no daughters.
Right.
I mean, I have a few cousins and what have you. I don't even have nieces. What would I do with that? I mean, going back to the memory thing, maybe going back to downsizing, decluttering, keep a couple or a few things, but what do I do with the rest? Would be
well, and there's a few different, like for you, the first thing that comes to mind, and this is kind of where like they gave me the jewelry whisper, is the first thing that comes to mind is like, what would honor it? Like, what if you had a fundraiser? What if, you know, you took the proceeds of selling this, because you have, like, I'm a big fan of yours. I'm a groupie. I follow you. But the thought of having a piece of like your mother's jewelry.
I won't tell anyone.
When you loved your mother so much, and just hearing that story, and that you care about these pieces and you would like to find them a good home, and part of the proceeds go to help, or, you know, there's so many ways we could do it. But I mean, with you, it's like, you know, first assessing what it is you have, you know, what's the retail value, like what could you buy it for, and then what would you sell it for, and then finding that in the middle where you find a good home for it. Because, you know, the main goal is not to get the most, I mean, obviously you want to get the most money for it, but the main goal is finding a good home. Like, this is jewelry that we want to find a good home for, that has a really significant meaning to you, and you would like someone in your immediate circle to maybe take a look at it and see if it's something that they want, and then talk about that. Like, that's kind of what comes to mind first. I mean, we could make it into man jewelry. Like, I know you don't wear a lot of jewelry besides your wedding ring, but that was also, I mean, like, there's meaningful ways that we could make it, but to find it a good home so someone can enjoy it. And one of the auction houses I work with, they will put on there from the estate of, and they can put it in loving memory. And so, yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
There's a couple of quick precedents of that. I think about my father's father, who was an antique dealer, and he had this reputation for wanting the right piece with the right person, not so much how much he made off of it.
Exactly.
The other is, I don't know if I've ever told anybody here this, and it was a downsizing thing. I had my mother's silverware. Who uses beautiful silverware anymore that they got X number of years ago at their wedding, right? And she only gave me half of it. The rest was lost in the hurricane, unfortunately.
Oh.
So I talked to, I know some of you know Dennis Johnson with Center Street Silver and Gold. I said, what would you give me for it? He gave me a good price. I took the proceeds and I donated to the Alzheimer's Association Memory in the Making art program, which is the early stage art for the people with dementia.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect match. I wasn't going to use it. That was another thing I didn't tell my family.
Yeah.
but it went to a good thing.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah, Dennis.
So I can see that working.
Yeah, how fun. I know, I was like, I want to see all the jewelry.
There are a few local nonprofits too that take direct jewelry donations, like Buzzy's Bees, which is a social cause for the Beaverton networking group.
Yep.
And they support parents who've unexpectedly lost their children.
Yeah.
There's Indigo Rescue, which is an animal rescue organization in Washington County.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Hillsborough Library will take costume jewelry, and they do a book sale and jewelry sale twice a year.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
Oh, good to know. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I just like get so excited. Artist. I love your cat painting. Well, thank you guys so much for letting me share this story and just geek out about what I do. And it just makes me so excited to be able to share it, because it is something different, and transparency is really my goal. And like when I help people buy or sell, I don't get paid by the stores. That's very important to me. I've been offered many times, and someone was like, why don't you just take the money and make more? Because it's not about the money. It's about I really believe I can be a giver and a kind person and just still be okay. And it's like, I get excited at the fact that we can put our clients first and our people first. And I just feel like that's how I want to live my life. And that's what makes me happy. And integrity is my driving force, and making sure that, you know, any stories we tell ourselves, we can unwind those and we can change it. And recently, I really came up with this, my partner and I came up with the system of like, what is our record player telling us? Like, that I have to be worthy in order to receive jewelry. I have to be good enough in order to receive jewelry. Well, I challenge people to replace that record with, what is it I really want? Do I want jewelry? Or, you know, and so that's the thing that is kind of fun, is like, we get to change what and put what our records are playing. And it's like, I just invite people, like, where we say should, we can replace that with, I chose not to. I didn't want to do that, or I want to do this. So that's what I get really excited about, because when I started selling jewelry, I didn't love jewelry. I thought it was expensive and I didn't want to wait for it. So I was really annoyed selling it. And then once I gave myself permission to buy my own piece of jewelry, my life has changed since then, because I realized I don't need someone else to buy me jewelry. And it's not that I don't find surprises special. I just am really particular, and I want to feel it and try it and think about it and give myself, I have a time period that I put in for me, because I'm shopping all the time for jewelry. So I always have to put good boundaries. Otherwise I'd be like, okay, so I made this and I spent this. So finding that balance is always really important. But I really appreciate the opportunity. And thank you so much, Whitney and Devin, for this. And thank you everyone for coming. And it's so good to see all of you.
Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us today, Gina. We really appreciate you. Before we let Gina go, does anyone have any last thoughts or questions? Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Gina. It was amazing.
Thank you. Love it.
So next month, we start a new year, and we're starting a new series. It's going to be right sizing from the inside out. So each month we'll have a different theme on that topic. So if you have any ideas, please send them my way. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
You have a date for the first one?
Yes. So they're going to be the third Wednesday of the month from 4 to 5 p.m. And you can still bring your favorite beverage.
You ask.
So I think is it January 18th? I got to take a look at the calendar. It looks like it's the 20th. Yeah, January 20th. Yeah. So we'll send out some information soon.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have happy and safe holidays, everyone.
Thanks. You too.
See you in the new year.
See you all